This is Chapter 7 in CG Dive's Rigify course for Blender 4 and beyond. In this part, we'll take this rig that we created in the previous session and take it from this colorless state to a nice color-coded rig, which also features a visibility menu. By the way, you can also watch this course on academy.cgdive.com. Until around the end of January 2024, the course is in early access, so you will have to pay a modest fee for it, or you can also subscribe to the entire site, which is also very affordable right now, and that way you can gain access to all of my courses. But from February 2024, the Rigify Fundamentals course will be free on Academy, so I highly recommend that you watch it there for the best viewing experience without ads and distractions. So let's get into it. Normally, I like to start things with a little theory, but in this case, I don't think that would be necessary. So we can start where we left off, and I'm going to provide this scene just in case you didn't save yours. Because we created this rig from scratch and added all of these samples and rig types ourselves, we have a fully black and colorless rig, and also our rig layers feature only a single button, which hides and unhides everything. And we have another button for the root. That is something that Rigify generates automatically. So let's go back to the Metarig and see what we can do about this. Let's isolate it. And if you go to the Armature tab, under Bone Collections, you should see only two collections. Bones, which is a default collection that Blender creates, and Root is a second collection which is automatically created the first time you click the Generate Rig button. So a very easy thing that I can do is to just move each part of the rig on its own collection. So for example, the spine will be on one collection, the arm on another, the palm will be a separate collection, fingers on a separate collection, and so on. This bones collection contains all bones right now, so I'll double click and rename it to spine, and I'll just leave the spine bones on this collection, and everything else I'll move on new collections. So I'll go to pose mode, and let's say that I want to move the arm. I'll select all arm bones, press M, new collection, and call it left arm, and press OK. Then the palm bones, M, new collection, left palm. We don't even have a right arm, but I still name my collections with left and right and so on, and I think that helps with organization. Next, I'll select all fingers, press M, new collection, left fingers. Then the neck and head, I'll press M, new collection, head. Left ears, M, new collection, left ears. Or left ear, I guess. Right ear. Right tentacle. Left shoulder. Right shoulder. Tail. Left leg. Right leg. These collections may not be optimal, we'll probably go back and tweak them, but it's a start. So let's go out of local mode and regenerate. Now a lot of my rig is not visible because these collections didn't exist until a second ago. They are now invisible, but I can just click on them and make them visible. So I'll unhide everything down to the ORG collection. ORG, MCH and DEF are special. I'll leave them hidden for now. And now all rig parts are visible, and I can go to the bone collections and hide and unhide them this way. For example, this one hides and unhides the tail. Then here's the left shoulder, right shoulder, and so on. But what we really want is to create layers here under rig layers, so that I don't have to go to the bone collections and I can just work in the 3D view. Currently, we only have the spine collection that is working. So to improve this, let's go back to the Metarig, and under Rigify, collapse advanced and color sets and expand bone collection UI. You may remember that in the previous session we got a generation error and we had to set this only collection that we had at the time to UI row 1. For some reason Rigify is not happy when everything is set to 0, so we had to set a UI row. But now let's find out how this really works. In this window here we have our bone collections. They are the exact same collections that we have up here in the bone collections. It's just convenient to be able to select the collections here. So to place one of these collections on a Rig UI button, what you do is select this collection and either set the UI row. For example, if I set left arm to 1, you'll see that it goes next to the spine because spine is also set to UI row 1. If I select the head, there is another way to place a collection on the menu, and that is to use this triangle here. If I press this triangle, it will be placed on row 1, exactly where the triangle was. Or I can press the triangle on the next row, and the head collection will go there. Now, just as a test, if I regenerate, you'll see that I have the spine, the left arm, and the head as clickable buttons. So let's go back to the Metarig and try to set all of the collections. If I want to remove a collection from the menu, I can press the X button here. Then left arm, I have to select it and I'll have the X button, or I can set UI row to 0. That will also remove it from the menu. And now I'll start from top to bottom. We have the same search field here as for the samples. So let's search for ear, and I'll place the left ear on the first row and then right ear next to it. Next, the head, I'll place it on the next row. Then if I press this plus button, I can create more rows. Minus will delete a row, and the row is created above the current one. So if I press plus here, I'll create a row between ears and head. So I'll delete it and create some more layers. Next, I'll find the spine and place it on the next row. Then the left arm I'll place on the next row, and the palm and fingers on the next one. Then I'll find the tentacle, right tentacle, and place it on the next row. Then I'll actually add a row above left arm and add my shoulders to it. Left shoulder and right shoulder next to it. Then I'll create some more rows. Next, I'll place the tail. And finally, left leg and right leg next to it. If I press the plus button next to spine, I'll create an empty row here. And that is actually nice for organization. That will leave a little bit of room between the head and the spine. That is entirely up to you, but I think it makes the menu nicer, so I'll do that. And I'll also separate the arm and the tentacle, tail, and the legs. And let's generate. And unhide all of these layers. So my rig menu is starting to take shape. Here I can hide the left ear, or the right ear, the head, the spine, the left shoulder, the right shoulder, left arm, palm, fingers, the tentacle, the tail, left leg, right leg, and unhide them. So this is kind of useful, but actually some of these types, such as the arm, has several layers of controls. It has the IK, which is on by default. It has the FK, which is not the default, but I can switch to FK at any point. And also we have these tweak controls. And that is the case for many of the rig components. The legs are similar, IK by default, but I can switch to FK. And we also have tweaks. And the spine is similar, and so on. And Rigify actually gives us tools to organize these layers of controls into different collections. Let's go back to the Metarig. Go to pose mode, select the first bone of the arm, and go to the bone tab. and look at the Rigify type. At the bottom of the options, you'll see Assign FK Collections and Assign Tweak Collections. You can press the plus button on each, and if you click in this field, that will let you select a collection. So we want to create a special collection just for the FK controls of the arm, and also for the tweak controls. So let's go to the Armature tab, Bone Collections, and just add a new empty collection. We won't place anything on it right now. This collection will only be used on generation to organize the FK controls or the tweaks and so on. So I'll call it left arm FK, and I can use the arrows to organize my layers. That is not essential, but organization is always nice. The root can also go to the bottom. And I'll create one more collection and call it left arm tweak. Then go back to the Bone tab and set the FK collection to left arm FK. And the tweak collection to left arm tweak. Then back to the Armature tab, go to Rigify Bone Collections UI. And here I could create a row above the palm and fingers row and find my arm FK and place it on this row, and then the tweak as well and place it on this row. Then generate, and now I'll have my IK. And while I work in IK, I generally don't want to see the FK controls. They just get in the way and they are not useful. And by pressing this button, I can hide the FK controls and even the tweaks. The tweaks can be useful, but maybe you don't use them all of the time. So hide them and only unhide them when useful. And we can apply this same principle to the remaining rig types. I just have to go to the Metarig, pose mode, and let's select the left thigh, for example. Verify the rig options, and you'll see that again we need an FK collection and a tweak collection. Same on the other leg, of course. For the spine, we have tweaks and FK. On the tentacle, there is an FK collection. On the shoulder, there is nothing. By the way, while I'm here, I should have done this in the previous lesson, but anyway, I want to change this to shoulder because it's a nicer shape for the shoulder. And same on the other side. On the neck, we have tweak collections, and on the ear, also tweaks. Oh, and also for the tail, we have tweak. So now I'll speed up the footage and just create the necessary collections. Again, I'm verifying the rig type, and it tells me what kind of collections I need. And then I go to the Armature tab and actually create these collections. Okay, and now I'll assign these collections. Okay, I assigned them all, and now I have to go to the Armature tab again, Bone Collection UI, and place all of my additional layers on the menu. By the way, here is a little trick. As the menu gets longer, it's kind of difficult to scroll up and down. So you could actually look at the bottom under this Rig UI menu, and it will show you all layers that are currently not assigned. So for example, I can create some rows here, and here I want leg FK. So I'll select it here by clicking and push it on the row. And then right leg FK, which I have misspelled, but that is okay. We'll fix it later. Then the tweak, left leg tweak, right leg tweak next to it. And then we still have the ears. So I'll select the left ear and go here, create a new row, push it here, and then finally the right ear tweak and push it on this row. And we have quite a big menu. Let's generate and go out of local mode. So this is a very nice menu, but it is quite big. It is a little bit verbose, you could say. So let's try to clean it up. And this can be done by bringing similar items on the same bone collection. For example, we have a lot of tweak collections for the left ear, for the right ear, for the head, for the spine, and so on. What if you wanted all of your tweak controls on a single collection? Let's go to the Metarig, create a new collection, and call it tweaks. And then in the search field, I can search for tweak, and I want to delete all of these individual tweak collections that I have. So select the top one and click the minus button. And notice how the selection disappeared. No collection seems to be selected right now, but really there is a selected collection. It is just not visible right now because of this filtering that we did. So if you press the minus button now, you will delete this collection that is currently not visible. This can be very confusing. In fact, I had to go back and record this part of the video again because I deleted a bunch of collections this way. This is something that Blender probably need to fix because it is not a great user experience, but keep it in mind and just select a collection and delete it. Select the next one and delete it. Okay, always make sure that the collection is selected. And now I'm left with this single tweaks collection. Then I have to go to pose mode and start assigning this tweaks collection. Because if I go to the Rigify options, you'll see that this field here is red because the assigned collection has been deleted. So I'll click in here, type tweak, and choose my tweaks collection. And we have to do the same thing for all parts of the rig that had tweaks collections. So the legs, the spine, and so on. I think I'm done, so let's go to the Armature tab and try to generate. And I got an error, broken bone collection reference, tail tweak, incorrect armature. Rigify errors are such a delight, so clear, but I think I understood. I think the tail tweak collection is not assigned correctly, so let's undo and select the tail in the Metarig, the first bone of the tail, and indeed I hadn't assigned the tweak collection here. So I'll assign it and try to generate again. And this time it will generate without a problem. But we do not have the tweaks button on the menu yet. So let's go back to the Metarig, find the tweaks collection, and push it on a row here. And we have a lot of these empty spaces here because I deleted a bunch of these tweaks collections. So I'll quickly delete some of these rows. Generate again. And now I have this single tweaks button, which hides and unhides all tweak controls. And I think we can simplify the menu even more. Right now we have the left shoulder and the right shoulder and left palm as a separate button, but shoulders and palms can be part of the arm. I think this is good practice, and it will also allow me to show you some advanced techniques. In particular, we'll place the same bone on multiple collections, and that can be very powerful. Let's go to the Metarig, pose mode, select the shoulder and the palm bones, and find the arm collection, left arm, and click Assign. So the shoulder bone is still on the shoulder collection. If I find it, here is left shoulder, and this dot indicates that the selected bone is on this collection. But we also have a dot over here, so it is on two collections at the same time. Now if I disable the eye icon here, you'll see that the arm disappears because it is only on this layer, but the shoulder does not because it is also on this collection here. If I disable this eye icon as well, then the shoulder will disappear. And I'll place the right shoulder on the tentacle collection. So highlight right tentacle and click Assign. Now in the rig menu, I'm going to remove the buttons for left shoulder, right shoulder, and also remove this row, and then for left palm. I am keeping the left shoulder and right shoulder collections, and this is for the next chapter where we'll be applying colors to the controls, and having these individual collections will help with that. Now let's try to generate. If I disable the left arm button, which is basically the IK, and enable the FK, you'll see that I have my FK arm. I can switch to FK here, but I don't have the shoulder control anymore. And it's the same with the palm. It disappeared. It is only available when I go to IK. Right? And here I have the palm and the shoulder. So to solve this, go back to the Metarig, select your shoulder and palm bones, and find the left arm FK and assign these bones to that collection as well. And for the right shoulder, I also want to assign it to tentacle FK. Generate again. And now if I hide the left arm, which is the IK, and unhide left arm FK, I will have the shoulder bones and the palm control in both cases. I can be in FK and have these controls, or I can be in IK and still have them. And also on the tentacle, I can hide the FK and still have the shoulder, or I can hide the IK, only show the FK, and I'll still have the shoulder. And that is more or less what I wanted to show you for this chapter. Let's just go back to the Metarig and see if we missed anything in the bone collection UI. So again, here you have your collections, you can select them, and then you get some options for them. I'm honestly not sure what this button here does. When I click it, I always get no issues detected. Color sets is related to assigning colors to your controls, which we'll do in the next chapter. Add selection set is related to a separate Blender add-on. If you go to Edit Preferences, Add-ons, and search for sets, you have these bone selection sets. So that is just for your information. This is related to this here. I'm not going to go into any more details because we won't be using this feature. Next, we have the UI row, which you should understand perfectly by now. And we also have a UI title. The UI title can change the text on the button here without changing the name of the actual collection. So if I just type XXX, you'll see that my button is now named XXX, but the actual collection is still spine. If I leave it empty, then the button is named the same as the collection. And there is another way to change the UI title, and that is to click on the button and just start typing. Okay, and that will update the UI title. And this is very useful. For example, I named my collections without any spaces. That is a habit I have, but for the buttons, I actually may want a space between the words. So I'll quickly update that. And that made the text on the buttons a lot more readable. With that, I think we covered almost everything there is to cover for this bone collection UI. But I'll give you a special pro tip. I'll create a new collection and name it DEF with all caps. And I'll place this DEF collection below the root. Maybe give it a little bit of space here. And then generate. And you'll see that the spaces in the button text were added. But also, I have this new DEF button, and I can enable it. Let's hide the Metarig. And that hides and unhides the deforming bones in the generated rig. So if I want to weight paint, I can enable these bones and go to weight paint mode as usual. And I'll have the deforming bones. So I really like this hack. That was very hard to do before Blender 4, but now I can easily have a button for the deforming bones. And I may want to rename it to Deform Bones and Weight Paint. Okay, many people struggle to find the deforming bones in Rigify, but if you create a menu like this, then it should be quite obvious. And if you know what you're doing, you can do the exact same thing for the ORG and MCH collections, but that would be quite advanced and even dangerous, so I won't do it here. Let me do some final tweaks. Just bring in some buttons on a single row. And it's looking good, so I'll generate. And I'm really liking this. Is this a perfect menu? It is for me. That is exactly how I want to lay out the buttons for myself. But I would consider this video successful if you understood how everything works and if you're able to create your own menus exactly as you want. So if anything was not clear, please let me know. Before I wrap up this lesson, let me fix the orientation of the shoulders. This has been bothering me, but I didn't want to interrupt the rig layers information. The easiest way to fix it is to go to your Metarig, Edit Mode, select the shoulder, and I can enable X symmetry. Press Ctrl R, which controls the roll of your bone, and type 90 on the numpad, and generate. And that fixed it. If your controls don't look good, you may have to go back to the Metarig and again roll the bone to -90, or just keep rolling it and regenerating until you get the controls looking good. That's it for this part. We took a great leap towards making our rig more user-friendly. It is now super easy to hide and unhide part of the rig. A simple rig like this is much easier to work with than a bloated one. But there is one more step that we need to take, and that is to color code the bones. And as a bonus chapter, I'll also show you how to tweak the shapes of these controls. You're very close to finishing this course. Take a short break if you have to, and then let's move on to the next chapter.